another Generation 2 Plasticon review! Woohoo!
Starting out with Silverbolt, he is now in his proper Generation 2 colors. This Concord looks unbelievably awesome. The color on this guy just does not do justice at all on camera. This thing is just screaming exactly what the original Generation 2 colors were, down to the crazy checkerboarding, along with the number 5 here, and a beautifully templed Generation 2 logo with a nice little striping behind it. Number 5 here on its tail, along with this beautiful fade. And the great thing is, it's properly done where the wings are not faded with this, just like the real Generation 2 version had it. But enough of gushing about how awesome this mode is. Let's get him into robot mode. Taking a closer look at Silverbolt here. He's obviously got his gigantic blaster rifle and shield that goes on his arm. But it's just this head sculpt, guys. That head sculpt is just beautiful. He's obviously got a rotating head. Nice ratcheting. Can't get over that ratcheting. Very, very cool little fists. Unfortunately, they don't move. But he also does have nice stompers. He's stomping. He's also got these, I'd say almost kind of Valkyrie-like feet, which I really do enjoy. Not to mention, the colors are unbelievably awesome, along with that beautiful Generation 2 logo right there on his chest. Fireflight, in his alt mode, is a really, really nice little Harrier jet. I do like the idea that they designed a complete different type of jet, considering the Phantom would have been a very dated vehicle, and most people don't even really know what the Phantom was, considering it came out slightly before Vietnam and was used throughout those years. It does have this gigantic gun he comes with, along with the gigantic foot pad gun rifle thingy, which is really neat, and I do like it, and it's pretty awesome. But taking a look at him is really, really, really neat. He's got a bit of a sparkle to the color red here. It's very difficult to see on camera, but it is there. It is definitely there. I do love this thing. This thing is cool. I love these flame deco right here, along with the G2 logo picked out there with the number 3 and all this striping. This is straight up identical to the Generation 2 version in its deco and its awesomeness. I do love the idea it does have folding landing gear, but it would have been nice to see the others, but it's something about it. It feels like a G1 mold almost, because that's what the G1 did. It only had front landing gear, didn't have any other ones. So anyhow, let's get on to its transformation. After putting Firefly in his robot mode, he is really, really cool. I do enjoy this head sculpt. It's a lot of white, but I mean, Firefly always had a lot of white. I do like the idea that they did pick out some really, really, really nice silver here throughout the chest, here on his hands, and even on the head. It's such a brilliant Hasbro silver. I love that color. That's such a great color for him. I really do like the idea that they did pick out the G2 logo right there on his chest. It just screams gorgeous. I love the way this robot looks. He's got a nice stoic pose, and he's just really neat looking. Something about that head sculpt, man. That head sculpt is just awesome. Love it. Let's move on to the next one. Skydive in his alt mode is just absolutely awesome. It does look kind of funny with its weapons loadout, being a gigantic foot missile cannon thingy, which tabs underneath. And all these actually have tabs right here, which is kind of nice. And it's also got this big gun turret thing, because you know airplanes have gun turrets on the, well, maybe back in World War II, but I don't think anything modern has that. Anyway, he is supposed to be an F-16, but he's got like a little bit of a difference going on here with a split wing action, which is kind of cool. Kind of wonder if that would actually work. Anyway, the cool thing is he actually has a really, really, really nice shimmer to the silver, because this is not gray, this is actually a silver. And the blue actually has little bitty sparkly bits. Not to mention he's got this awesome number 1 here with this great checkering. I love this checkering. And the same thing here on this side with the checkering and the Autobot logo right there. There's number 1 right here on the tail fin with the nice checkering. And the same thing right here. He's a very, very cool aircraft mode. He does not have any landing gear, unfortunately. So he just kind of sits there. But can't really complain. He's really, really nice. So let's put him into robot mode! After getting Skydive in his robot mode, he is just absolutely gorgeous. It's really cool how this pseudo, almost like muted silver goes into this great gleaming silver on the front of the robot. I love how the blue just really pops on him. Not to mention this head sculpt. I'm really digging that head sculpt. It's really nice. Like the idea they tampled the G2 logo there. And he just doesn't need very more paint apps than that. He just looks really good. He's a nice looking bot. And to be honest, he's probably one of the coolest ones of the entire group as far as I'm concerned. But I am a little more partial toward the F-16, considering it's a prior service vehicle I used to work on. But anyhow, I like this guy. It's really neat. I like the idea that he has molded missiles in his wings. And these wings are positionable. I mean, you can move them around quite a bit, which is kind of nice, especially if you just want them just kind of sticking out. But it does give him a bit of a backpack, but you can't really complain. He does have a decent heel spur going on there, so he can actually stand up really well. Anyhow, let's move on to the next. Air Raid in his awesome mode. I love this jet. This F-14 Tomcat is just like so iconic when it comes to the 80s. And even into the 90s, this thing was not took out of service until the late 90s. Such an awesome aircraft. I love the idea that they left in the retracting wings, and the fact he can actually carry a payload was kind of nice. These do come off, obviously, and you do have to kind of move them around whenever you put them on the moving wing portion. It does have the mounted cannon that goes on the top, just like his buddy there, Dive Bomb. Really awesome. I do want to put a little bit of a disclaimer though. The rear wings on a lot of these guys are rubber, and along with the nose cone. I'm just debating on how that's going to hold up over time, considering we already know what happens to rubberized toys. But these don't tend to be like extremely rubbery. It doesn't feel like a type of rubber that they would use for the car wheels, so it is a bit different. He does not have any landing gear, unfortunately, which would have been really neat to see some landing gear under here. But he does have bombs and missiles actually molded into part of the jet, which is kind of nice. And it kind of makes sense because a lot of the payload on the F-14 was actually here. It wasn't ever out on the wings. So, yeah, really nice. Anyhow, let's move on and check out this Deco. This Deco kind of reminds me of Spider-Man. I love this Deco. Like the number 2 here, clearly picked out along with the G2. These things, paint work is just unbelievably amazing, by the way. There's no sloppiness here. I've actually really partial to sets that have really nice paint apps, and this thing is just gorgeous. I just can't get over how awesome it is. It would have been neat if they were stickers, but you know, imagine trying to put a sticker here on the back of this rubber stuff here and then it not stick over time and then just falling off. I mean, that'd be the first ones that go. Anyhow, let's move on to this robot mode. Air Raid in his gorgeous robot mode looks awesome. I love the idea that there's a lot of white here, accented with a lot of silver. Do love that head sculpt though. That head sculpt is really neat. Very cartoony. I love that. And a teeny tiny G2 emblem right there on his shoulder. Honestly, there's really no other place they could have put it to actually look good and it not turn into mush. Would have been neat to see him put him down there in the recessed areas on his chest, but I don't think that would have worked, and especially here, not on the combiner portion, mainly because it would have just ripped right off, especially with the way some of these get handled. But this guy is completely awesome. I love how the silver accents the white just right, and there's no sloppiness. I have to reiterate that. I haven't seen any sloppiness on the paint job. It's gorgeous. It really looks neat. Along with the blue, does have a bit of a sparkly shimmer inside of it, which is just completely appropriate for Generation 2. Can't get over how awesome that is. But let's move on to the one that everybody is probably raving about. Here is Generation 2 Slingshot in his ultimate form. And guess what? It's gold plastic you can transform, doesn't explode, and makes you want to avoid breathing on. So that way it doesn't turn into a pile of dust. Because, you know, they finally got the formula right, guys. It's really nice. It's actually a very, very decent plastic on these things. That's one of the big questions that everybody had was like, how is this one here going to turn out of all of them? Because considering Superion actually had such an awesome setup, but poor little Slingshot here just he couldn't hold it together. But anyway, taking a look at this crazy gold, it does have a shimmer in it, but it's much like the rest of them. They all have this crazy nice little sheen to them, which has actually been really brought in a lot lately from a lot of the exclusives and such we've been getting in the past. He does have his blaster rifle and his gigantic gun here. They obviously peg in, and there's no worry about pegging something in. He does have movable landing gear, which is kind of nice. And just look at this. I love this tiger stripe deco. I mean, this stuff is just insane. That nice G2 logo right there. Same here, along with the number 4. And he does have the number 4 here on the tail. Both sides, just a gorgeous thing. Silver does pick out pretty good. It literally looks just like the toy that we got years ago, except for it doesn't explode. It's kind of nice. But anyway, we're not here just to gush about the alt mode. We got to talk about the robot! Slingshot in his robot mode is absolutely gorgeous. This thing is really neat. They nailed it when it comes to everything on this robot. Even down to actually giving him a black chest portion to go with the silver outlining, along with this indigo screaming blue. This blue, I cannot insinuate how awesome this blue color is. This blue is all over this entire set, and it's just gorgeous. All these are paint apps. It looks very good. It's very well done. It's very clean. And just look at this head sculpt. I mean, that is just unbelievable. Not to mention the logo, along with the detail just picked out. This thing is just completely gorgeous. It's one of the coolest robots in the entire group. It does look like it's weird and doesn't belong, but that's what's great about Slingshot. His character never fit in with the rest of them. He was always the rebel, and I really like him just because of that. But let's move on to the unsung member of this 5 robot thingy here and talk about a little addition. Powerglide in his alternate mode is actually pretty neat. This red actually bleeds into the same red that's on the other 2 aerial bots. It's got that nice glimmer to it. It's very cool. Although the engines here are actually painted on the end, it actually looks really neat. I do like this guy a lot. He's got just a charm about him. He does carry over that same silver we saw on Dive Bomb, but it's just, it works. It's something about it works. Although Air Raid was never part of the Autobot combiner for Generation 2, it kind of works and fits in. I do like his alt mode. His alt mode is very, very well done, being an A10 Warhog. I love this aircraft. First off was one of my favorite airplanes that's ever been created. Just, it's an awesome jet, really neat. I do like the idea that they kind of, you know, made it sound like he actually had like a payload, you know, and gave him a little bit of beef. Now, it is kind of weird how the landing gear works. I really would have preferred maybe some kind of little bit of landing gear, maybe here on his knees versus here, which would have probably worked a little better. He does have a retracting front nose landing gear, which is, mind you, kind of difficult to get out. But he does look really, really neat from even the bottom. And he does have a gigantic G2 tampo right here, but it would have been nice to see one on one of the wings on the top. It would have been really interesting to see that, or maybe just a little one right here on the tail, something. Because when he's flying over like this, you can't tell where he's an Autobot or a Decepticon unless you see him from underneath. And if you're an airplane and you're flying above him to try to take him out, well, you don't know who he is. It's about my only gripe here. R9 is really neat, but let's go ahead and get into his little alternate mode. Power gliding his nice little robot mode here. Looks really neat. I do like the aesthetic. The aesthetic is very G1-ish, but still, it's got a crazy G2 vibe to it. This kind of reminds me of the crazy Diaclone pseudo, I don't know, it was like the GoBot thing that they did there for a while. It was really neat. I do like him a lot. He's really cool. I wasn't sure how I was going to take him as being part of the team, but he kind of does fit in really well. I do like his colors. His colors really work for him. Not to mention the robot mode is pretty successful. It's got a lot of posability, and there's only a little bitty minor complaint I got, but you know, these arms tend to pop off quite a bit, but it's probably because it's so new and I just got it out of the box not long ago, and it's one of those things, just, you know, Power Glide is just cool, and it's great because he doesn't just function as a chest piece, he also functions as a gun. This guy's got several different gimmicks that work with this set, and I do like that. But let's go ahead and combine this thing because, yeah, Superion!
Running up your engine, listen to the howling roar. Better like attention, begging you to touch and go. Highway to the
after getting Superion completely put together, it is absolutely clear why he is Generation 2 Superion. This guy is probably one of the coolest combiners that's come out in the past years as far as Plasticon is concerned. Now, there are quite a few awesome combiners that's come out in the Combiner Wars line, but I have been holding out for this guy for so long. I am so happy that I did, because this thing is just absolutely amazing. The paint deco, the color scheme, everything coincides and works so well, because I am a proud owner of a Generation 2 Superion myself. This thing is just unbelievable. This is almost like a masterpiece version for me. I know some people out there are like, no, it's nowhere near masterpiece or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, this is, because Hasbro isn't ever going to give us a full-on combiner that's bigger than this. That is masterpiece scale. That is Generation 2. That's the thing. Hasbro won't ever do that. So this is as close as we're ever going to possibly get. I really do like this thing. It is worth every single solitary penny you pay on it. It is a nice robot. It's very cohesive. Everything works. It just screams awesome. And I think I mistransformed one little bit. It's supposed to be here in his belly. That's my fault. Anyway, this thing is worth the money. It just is. I have played with the molds before, not all of them, but just the first time transforming this thing and putting it together, it's unbelievable. And yes, some of my transformations in this video have been a little bit wonky because I have been holding out to even touch the entire toy until I got it in hand in its full, complete goodness, the way it should be. And this is my true reaction of this thing is completely awesome. Now, on to the little guy. On to Powerglide in his alternate form here as a Target Master. I don't think it really works that well. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really that happy with the way the transformation is and how it holds together. It's a really cool thought. I really like the idea of having a pseudo transformer that turns into a Target Master. I mean, I've always been a fan of Target Masters. You guys know me being a Generation 1 fan from years back, and kind of diving more into the G2 scheme. I mean, this thing works really well. I mean, it holds together fine when it's actually in his hand, but the transformation is just a bit too finicky for me. I did have problems with the arms trying to pop out of the little sockets every now and then. I don't know if that will end up having one in your guys's. Your mileage may vary. To be honest, it's I can see how it fits into the scheme. It really does work with Superion. It's not too bad. Superion actually looks really cool holding it. I don't think it takes away too much from the actual robot mode, but I think I can live with it. It's pretty neat. There are a couple other things here that you're left with, though. You've got the other guns, which you can obviously probably plug in anywhere on any of the 5mm ports for storage. I mean, you got plenty of room here on the back if you really wanted to store them. You can actually plug them here onto the sides here as well, because everybody knows that that hole right there was intently made for the wings for Galvatronus and aka Cyclonus mold. It works okay. I do like the idea that this thing is just completely awesome. It really screams G2. It does fit in with the whole gimmick thing, and I like this because this is a bit of a gimmick, and not every gimmick ever worked completely 100% with a lot of G2, but it still has that charm. One thing I do have to point out, though, I love the gold that they used on his head. They really did try to match the gold off of the leg with the head. It's something about that just draws it together and pulls it together for me for this entire robot. It's very well done. It's an absolute must for a G2 collector. If you're a Generation 2 collector, why don't you own this? I mean, seriously. And if I remember right, it's supposed to pop up, I think. I'm trying to remember. I haven't done this in a while. Anyway, I'll mess with that later. Because he does end up with an upside down G2 emblem on his belly, or his crotch, which I think that flips up, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, he does have a G2 logo right there on his chest, which is kind of nice. It's not too screaming, but hey, it's got G2 logos all over it. I mean, you can tell, like, if you look down here on the legs and anywhere else, and especially on the belly of this guy. Really neat. I do like the idea that they did this. But yeah, I mean, this is just a complete awesome set. Now, something cool it does come with a big, gigantic brown envelope. But what's in this brown envelope, we may ask? Well, in this brown envelope comes a decent, awesome cardstock of Superion. Now, the thing I'm noticing here, though, this cardstock of Superion is literally the cardstock of the original retail Superion that we got when this mold was first released. It's obviously got Alpha Bravo right here on the side, along with all of them in their Generation 1 colors. Would have been cool if they went through, gave us a G2 logo here, and made this more of a G2 scheme. I don't see how hard it would have been actually to recolor it, but then again, I'm not a comic book artist. But the cool thing we do get is a nice card, which I know a lot of people, I don't really collect cards, but to be honest, when it comes to the G2 exclusive, I'm going to have to make an exception here. It does come with a nice little card. It doesn't have any tech specs. I mean, this is a prime opportunity for you guys to make tech specs on the back. Come on, Hasbro, you're being lazy. That's the only thing I can really say. I mean, there are some things on here that kind of did upset me. I mean, opportunity for a G2 logo on here. Could have sent Generation 2 Superion instead of just Superion. To me, this looks like a copy of the United instructions. I don't see any. Yeah, there are G2 logos on the actual artwork that's on this, so they probably repurposed part of that for that. But the one thing I cannot complain about is this box. This box is massive, and it's very hard to see in the dark. Now you can see it. This is great artwork. I love how they depicted this entire thing. It looks really nice on here. The only thing I really think it's missing is G2 emblems on the actual box itself. That's the one thing I was a bit upset about. I do love the artwork here on the side with the G2 Superion and then this awesome freaking charging pose. I'm gonna punch you and blast you in the face pose. This is Generation 2 at its finest. Could have put a G2 logo. Could have put a G2 logo. So many missed opportunities with the G2 logo on this box. This is neat that they put this all here. They could have put a G2 logo. I know a lot of people really don't complain because, you know, a lot of them out there don't really collect boxes. I do collect boxes. By the way, you guys see me throwing boxes. Sometimes, guess what? This one's not getting thrown because I like it. There's not many of them out there like that. But when it comes to Generation 2 Superion, I do believe he is probably one of the coolest things that's come out in early 2016. I really hope we get to see more of these guys. They have rumored the Bruticus, and we've already seen prototypes and everything of Minosaur. I can't wait to get a Minosaur on the shelf to go with this guy, because this is going to look awesome with these things battling on my, I would say, super articulated versions of my Generation 2 bots, which I haven't got to yet, because I still have those to get to, because I have lots of those. I will be getting around to those reviews here in the future, but you guys stay tuned, because I'll end up having some more from the Plasticon kibble of awesome and the crazy coloring epic. If you're a G2 fan, why don't you have one? That's all I gotta say. Anyhow, this has been Plasticon, and this is me signing off. Peace out, you guys. Have fun, collect some bots, and enjoy the Skittle universe.